highlights and shadows. Once you are complete with all of your layers and you have filled in completely your portrait, the next thing that we are going to do is make sure we have this black background on here. Okay, I'll come over and take care of that with you. After that portion of things, we want to be sure we add our highlights and shadows. To do that, what you're going to do is go down to the bottom of the layers panel, click on the new layer button one time. It's going to add a layer for you. We're going to take that layer and drag it to the top of the stack. Once it's there, we're going to double click on it. We're going to call it HLN shade for highlights and shadows, okay? And then from there, what you want to do is you are going to be using the lasso tool. So your lasso tool is located the third one down on your toolbar, 1, 2, 3, click and hold, you'll see your lasso tool. This lasso tool allows you to draw in any shape. You can do zigzags, sharp lines, curves, anything you want, and when you close it up, you'll see a selection. To get rid of this selection, almost all of you on your screens have this little bar down here that has the option to select deselect. Okay, so what do I want you to do with this? Well, we want to give you highlights and shadows. Otherwise, you look like a Family Guy flat character of just color. So we hide everything else except for the highlight and shadow layer, and we turn on the original at the bottom. With the original turned on at the bottom, you can zoom in and start anywhere you'd like. I'm going to give you an example using like his pants, okay? So on the highlight and shadows layer, remember that's the layer that you're staying on. You're going to take your lasso tool and you're going to make little selections of the areas that are dark, and then make sure you have this add button up top here, and you can continue to add as many of those dark little areas as you find. Now your eye might see them, as I always say, a bit differently than where I might see them, and as long as you get in the general area, you're going to be fine with these. You don't have to be absolutely perfect on all of them, okay? So I'm getting all of these dark areas as best I can. Now there are variations here. I'm kind of, even though some of them are super dark and some of them are less dark, and I'm just kind of grabbing all of them. Right, so then a bunch of them at once. Okay, here we go. A couple more. Good, good, good. Good. So once I have all these darker areas of his pants selected like this, I want to then fill these with black. So what can I do? I can go to this little paint bucket here and choose fill with black. I could also go to my paint bucket here on the toolbar, choose black, and then I just click inside them, bam, and fill. To get those dots to go away, remember, you're going to select the deselect button. I want you to stay on that same layer now, use the lasso tool again, but this time for the highlights, you're going to make selections of the lighter or brighter areas. They can overlap a little. If you find that they do, that's okay. Don't worry about that. So you're going to continue to go in and get those highlights. Like I see this line is kind of a highlight here. Again, do not drive yourself crazy trying to be absolutely perfect, but as long as you get the gist of where kind of things are. That one I don't really see that well. There's another one here. Let's see what else. I'll just throw one over here for now, just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so those areas, the highlight or the brighter areas, are going to be filled with white. So again, I can click here and choose white, or I can go to my paint bucket over here. And then once I get my paint bucket, I could choose and flip over here where my tools, where my colors are. I can flip and get white. Okay, so what does this all mean? I'm going to hit deselect. If I were to zoom out and look at this thing now, it's going to look like a bunch of blobs, right? But when I turn everything else back on by turning on the visibility for each layer, this is what it's going to look like from far away. It still looks a little blobby, but that layer at the very top there, all I have to do is go and take the opacity of the highlight and shadow layer down. And as I bring it down past like a 30 or so, you'll notice that those shadows begin to fade. So I'm going to do it from far away now. So you can see on his leg in this area here, as I fade this down past 20, 30, 40 or so, you get this little like shine kind of thing going like that, right? And so it shows the highlights, it shows the shadows. It's a nice little touch. It makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional than just being flat. The only other option that you have for this is that after you draw it, and I'm going to pump these up a little bit so you can see them brighter. After you draw the white and the black areas here, what you can do is you can stay on that layer, go to filter, down to blur, over to Gaussian blur, and then you can blur these out depending on the slider here. So like you can make them a little fuzzier on the edge. So like, you know, they were crisp like this when I started, but if I pull it up just a little bit, it's almost like I'm fuzzing them out, I'm blurring them out. So if I hit OK, and then I bring that back down to like a 15 or so. So now I get the same sort of a thing, just with a fuzzier kind of look to it. Okay? When you are done with the highlights and shadows, they stay all on the same layer, all the black and whites, using that lasso tool. Once you're done, you call me over, and we will make sure you're ready to begin the background, which will be the next video.